Hello, and thanks for joining me. I want to address a very specific issue about a party leader, and it's surfaced time and time again in relation to this particular leader. The leader is Tim Farron of the Liberal Democrats. Um, it's an issue that always seems to be attached to him, notwithstanding the fact that his party is currently enjoying a bit of a resurgence. That's not to put hyperbole into it. Clearly, they have a very long way to go. Compared to their, if you are scholars of British politics, you'll know the Liberal Democrats had their best polling in 1999, 2001, 2005, and 2010, but have subsequently suffered badly. Um, this time round, they are gaining votes, pro EU votes from probably disaffected Labour people. But anyway, the issue that keeps dogging Tim Farron is about his positions on gay issues. Now, there's an article in today's Eye, which I'm just going to show you, and basically it says that Tim Farron has been condemned by Michael Gove, who's a former Conservative cabinet minister and is now a journalist, and he came from a journalism background, and Liz Kendall, who's seen as a centrist Blairite Labour MP. They have both, Liz Kendall said, it's, I think a lot of people will be appalled that he couldn't bring himself to say that gay sex is not a sin. I think that's pretty offensive and will rightly anger a lot of people. I think that was a really terrible interview and to not be able to bring himself to say that. And Michael Gove basically agreed with her. Here's the thing, Tim Farron did actually clarify his position. This was an interview with Robert Peston, and this was his response. Um, I've been asked this question loads of times over the past few days, even in the House of Commons. Being gay is not a sin. Okay, so he's explicitly said that. Now, the context of this is that Tim Farron is a practicing Christian, and he has alluded to the fact in the past that he is uneasy with gay marriage. Nick Clegg has defended him, and others within the party have defended him. And here's my take. Firstly, if you are gay, I can understand reservations about someone who is opposed to gay marriage. Speaking personally, I believe that it's hard to argue against gay marriage on the grounds of equality. However, what really matters is what Tim Farron does as a legislator, right? And his voting record, as I understand it, four times out of five, he has voted for legislation that is backing gay rights. So I feel this is a little bit of a smear campaign against Tim Farron, and he made a good point actually, which I'm going to. Robert, if I'm honest with you, it's possible I'm not the only person who's heard of this line of questioning. In America, it occurs you have to invent a faith in order to be seen as a serious candidate for anything. In this country, it maybe appears that you have to pretend you haven't got one to be taken seriously. Can I just point out, possibly even slightly impatiently, that's very British, um, that both of those standpoints are utterly ludicrous. Shall we talk about things that might impact on the election? I have to agree with that. I think if you have a candidate who is Christian, they're going to be absolutely grilled on their positions on gay issues. Now, it's legitimate to ask questions about Mr. Farron's stance on gay issues, because as a legislator, as a party leader, he will be in a position to influence legislation. But I think it is perfectly possible to have private views on a matter, personal conviction, whilst also being utilitarian as a legislator. And I would give an example of American governors, right, who may be personally opposed to the death penalty. They may preside over a state where the majority of the population backs a death penalty. So that's a difficult situation because they are putting their personal conviction to the back and putting their electorate first. And I think that takes, it's not an easy thing for a politician to do, but they know that when they are in public life, they have to put the electorate first. I think if you were in a position where you found yourself disagreeing with the majority of your electorate, the choice is either to resign from politics or to put your personal convictions behind you. Because, and that's not to say that mob rules should prevail. It's not to say that politicians should always just go with what the bulk of people believe. But I don't think it should be a contradiction. And I do think that this is, firstly, from Kendall and Gove, I believe it's absolute politics. I believe it's virtue signaling. I believe they're attacking him just to, bash the Lib Dems. Um, I can understand if Tim Farron was proposing legislation that was homophobic, if he was standing in the way of gay rights legislation, but I've seen no evidence that that's what he's doing. He is entitled to a personal view, and this politically correct witch hunt on these sort of issues, for example, on gay rights, is absurd. People should have the right to disagree with things, and that may offend some people, but on this, it impacts his role as a legislator. I really don't think it is an issue. Um, so let me know your thoughts. What I would say, I can understand gay people having unease about this. I really, really can. But what I would say to them, and I'm not saying this, by the way, as a Liberal Democrat. At the moment, I'm not aligned with any party, but I just think it's about giving Mr. Farron a fair hearing. Um, Look at the man's record. Judge him on his record, okay? Um, and don't just believe what rival politicians from rival parties are saying about him. I think he made it clear in the interview that he doesn't think gay sex is a sin. He said that. I mean, his exact words were, "Well, being gay is not a sin." But that how much clearer does he have to make it? He said explicitly, being gay is not a sin. So I really don't think there's much of a case here, and I can understand him being frustrated. It's a bit like Jeremy Corbyn always being targeted for his polling rather than the policies. Journalists have a really bad habit, in my opinion, of doing this, and I don't like that sort of politics. It's legitimate to ask about the views of a leader, it's legitimate to ask about their credibility as a leader, but to constantly ask the same questions, it does get tiring, and it's not good journalism, in my opinion. He's given the answer. People don't have to agree with the answer, but that's the answer he's given. He's made it clear. Why not ask Tim Farron about Brexit? Because that's what the Lib Dems are campaigning on. That would be, in my opinion, far more relevant.